Hello everyone and welcome back to Scandinavian Design 101. I'm Sanna.
I'm Andreas and we're two Swedes and we love design. And this week we're going to talk about two of the most influential Danish designers of all time. Hans J. Wegner and Børge Mogensen. And we will take a look at their backgrounds and do a little comparison between the two. They were born the same year, studied together in Copenhagen and was influenced by the same teachers. Still, they will come to choose different paths in their careers.
They were both born in 1914, more than 100 years ago. Denmark and of course the rest of the world looked really different back then. In 1914, the First World War started and millions of people would perish in the battlefields the following years. The Spanish flu would also soon spread through the world and between 50 to 100 million people would die. It was dark times, but luckily the two young boys, Hans and Børge, made it through, and 20 years later they would come to meet when studying furniture design at the School of Arts and Crafts in Copenhagen.
Wegner had started working as an apprentice in a joinery workshop already at the young age of 14. In 1935, when visiting the annual Cabinet Makers Guild's exhibition in Copenhagen for the first time, he understood the need of a formal education to become an established furniture designer. After doing his mandatory military service, he took a short course at the Danish Technological Institute, and in 1936 he attended the carpentry program at the School of Arts and Crafts.
Also, Mogensen was already as a young boy drawn to practical work rather than theoretical studies. He hated school and felt discomfort when he was forced to follow his family to church every Sunday. Sitting still in school or a church bench just wasn't possible for the young Mogensen. At the age of 16, he started as an apprentice in a local joinery workshop, producing coffins, among other things, for the local funeral home. Eager for a career as a furniture designer, also Mogensen applied to the School of Arts and Crafts in 1936 and was accepted.
The school was highly influenced by the teachings of Kaare Klint, who founded the furniture design program and started teaching at the school in 1919. His main courses were furniture drawing and constructions. First, the student had to make drawings of antique furniture models to study their constructions. According to Klint, there were two types of furniture. The ones actively designed by cabinet makers, and then the ones that spontaneously had emerged over time because they filled an important practical function in everyday life. And the later type hadn't been studied close enough, but according to Klint, they were highly important. After studying them, the students should make their own modern interpretations. According to Klint, one should never design anything if it didn't have a practical function. He wanted the student to appreciate the beauty of functional and strong constructions adapted for their specific purpose. Decoration and ornamentation was unnecessary and should be avoided. And the result was strong and functional furniture with a traditional look.
Yeah. Parallel with his studies, Mogensen came to work in Mogens Koch Studio. Yes, that is his name.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it is. He was a teacher at the school, and just like Klint, he promoted a strictly functional and rational approach to design. Mogensen stayed in school until 1941 and adapted these principles. Mogensen and Mogens.
Oh.
Mogensen like a last name, and Mogens
as a first.
As a first name.
Yeah. Mogensen would be a great name. Yeah.
Silly. Wegner, on the other hand, dropped out of school already in 1938 when he was employed by architects Arne Jacobsen and Erik Möller, who had a studio together. His first two major commissions were the interior of the library in Nyborg and the Århus City Hall. Already at this early point in their careers, the two friends Wegner and Mogensen choose rather different paths. Mogensen kept on studying the doctrines of Klint in school as well as in the studio of you-know-who.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it again. And Wegner left school to join Jacobsen, who was a pioneer of organic design in Denmark.
And now let's compare some of the works by Wegner and Mogensen to see the difference. Let's start with their first contributions to the Copenhagen Cabinet Makers Guild exhibition. 1939 was the first year Mogensen attended the exhibition, with a study and a dining room in mahogany for cabinet maker Ove Lander. The Chippendale-inspired chair with a Chinese-looking backrest must have made Klint quite proud. And at the same exhibition, Mogensen also presented multifunctional furniture for a student apartment.
That's really boring.
Yeah.
Multifunctional.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, it is really boring furniture, but they filled a practical purpose. Wegner, on the other hand, first attended the exhibition in 1938 with a quite traditional-looking dining room, also designed for cabinet maker Ove Lander. And the furniture were functional and well in line with the teachings of Klint. Especially the dining chairs were highly Klint-looking. But Wegner also designed a highly different-looking low easy chair with suspended back and extremely curved armrests. And it's often considered the first real Wegner chair, and it was obviously a step away from Klint.
We must remember that the two men were just in the early years of their careers when designing these interiors, but some conclusions can still be made. Even though Wegner still was designing much in the manner of Klint, the easy chair is a sign of what will come. And frankly, it was the only interesting piece designed by Wegner for this exhibition. Mogensen, on the other hand, already started focusing on solving social problems, just like he would for the most part of his career. In 1942, Mogensen was hired as head of the furniture department at the Danish Consumers Cooperative, FDB. The aim was to produce a whole range of functional furniture adapted for the small apartments that was being built all over Denmark. Let's take a look at some of the chairs he designed.
Also, Wegner started designing furniture for industrial mass production. Mogensen wasn't late to hire his friend to design some pieces for FDB, and the company also started producing a shaker-style rocking chair Wegner had designed somewhat earlier. And during this time, the two influenced each other and designed a long range of furniture together. In 1945, they even rented a cabin together to live in while designing furniture for the Cabinet Makers exhibition. A result of this collaboration was the legendary spoke-back sofa, a design Mogensen claimed, but they probably designed it together, at least somewhat together. But in 1947, Wegner developed the spindleback chair one step further when designing the peacock chair for cabinet maker Johannes Hansen. And it was a playful and oversized chair Mogensen never would have considered designing. And the two remained close friends, but stopped working together. Mogensen continued working analytically as Klint had taught him. Wegner, on the other hand, started working more sculptural and with elegant forms.
Yeah. In 1949, Wegner was commissioned by the manufacturer Carl Hansen to produce a range of chairs of high quality, yet adapted for industrial production. The following years, a long range of classics were born. Parallel with this, he also designed several highly sculptural chairs for cabinet maker Johannes Hansen. Now let's take a look at some of them. Mogensen, on the other hand, started his lifelong collaboration with the newly started Fredricia Stolefabrik in 1955. The task Mogensen was given was to design democratic furniture that would be durable. Let's take a look at some of them.
And here you can see actually an incredible difference between the designs by Wegner and by Mogensen. And it's a bit interesting to compare them. At first, you really like the Wegner furniture best, I think. They are more spectacular and they look better.
Yeah.
But then you really have to understand the idea Mogensen had behind his designs.
Yeah, that's more
democratic and it's a better idea. But at the same time, I think it would also be interesting to compare the prices because I do think that the furniture designed by Mogensen wasn't much cheaper than the ones designed by Wegner. And considering that, then it makes it a bit more problematic because then it's just more boring furniture, but still expensive. Yeah. So it's a matter of taste, but I prefer Wegner here.
Of course.
Yeah. And I want to end this video with a quote by Mogensen and Wegner, and it's actually more of a conversation that took place when the two turned 50 and was interviewed by a Danish newspaper. And Mogensen said, "Now they are insisting that we have to experiment in the broadest sense, show up at exhibitions with experiments. All these experiments, it's nonsense. Any artist who works seriously would never exhibit something he views as an experiment." And then Wegner said, "Oh, but sometimes you cannot help tossing off one thing or another, something that you know is only an experiment. Otherwise, you can also become so boring." And Mogensen replied, "We are so often told that we are boring. Still, what we call boring survives the longest." And that really explains the whole philosophy
it really
between.
Does.
Yeah.
But he's wrong.
Yeah. And hope you found this video kind of interesting. If you did, you should check out our previous videos. We have videos about Wegner and Mogensen and a lot of other things.
You really should.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.